Hey everyone, it's Alex with Couch.com here with my friend Jonathan Wilson. He is a legend.
Nice.
Quite literally, and yeah, you see where I'm going with this, from Legends Furniture. Jonathan, how are you doing today?
So good. Happy to be back in Phoenix after a week in High Point, North Carolina.
Man, what were you doing in High Point, North Carolina? It is the focus of our episode today, but please tell the good people at Couch.com what you were doing there.
That was the furniture market. There are 4 major furniture markets in every year, 2 in Vegas and 2 in High Point. This was the High Point Spring Market, of which sometimes we'll call it the Super Bowl of furniture markets, because it's where most of your majors go and pick out what furniture they're going to buy for the remainder of the year. Now we start selling stuff that's prepping for Black Friday. It's going to be too late by the time the next market comes to buy in time for Black Friday.
Interesting. So, just to define what a furniture market is for Couch.com is really catered towards consumers buying couches. I just think it's important that people understand the back end of the industry a little bit too. So just to define it, it sounds like it's the place that retailers will go to be connected with manufacturers and distributors like the one that you work for to essentially buy product, to buy inventory. Is that correct?
That is. The way the industry works as a whole is mainly through manufacturers' representatives. So you have a manufacturer that might be in the state of Mississippi, or we're in the state of Arizona. And then we have a sales force that covers the entire country. And some might have 5 states, and some of them might just have, depending on how many furniture retailers are in their area and how many maybe key accounts that they're working with. But they're selling usually just off of picture catalog, whether that's on paper, an iPad, or something like that. The markets give the buyers an opportunity to come see the product and actually touch it and actually sit on it in the case of a couch, or open the drawers and see what kind of joinery is going to be done and all of that kind of stuff in the case good world.
So you're saying that the people buying the furniture in the stores that we go to actually see it in person first?
They do, usually. The good ones do.
Right.
Yes, the great ones do. I would say all of your top 100 retailers across the country do, for sure. And typically you have your 2 Vegas markets and your 2 High Point markets. And it seems to be like the western half goes to Vegas and the eastern half goes to High Point. And there's some crossover, but for the most part, it is a regional base.
Why High Point, North Carolina? Because here's what I know of High Point, North Carolina. Best restaurant? Cracker Barrel. Best hotel? The Howard Johnson. No, I don't think that's a thing. It's not a big city. And so what do you think it is? Why did the furniture industry sort of converge? Why is the Super Bowl in small town North Carolina?
There's a lot of history that goes there. That's a great question. High Point pretty much was like the furniture capital of the world 100, 200 years ago, whatever it was. And small little companies would rise up, and most furniture in America is made in the Mississippi area, sometimes in Tennessee area. And then a lot of it was, though, made in High Point. And so it was just easier to go directly to this town and visit all these different manufacturers that were making furniture pretty much in the same area. But long story short, everybody was going out to visit these factories in that side, and the town of High Point became a hub. And now if you go to High Point, it is bizarre, because this is the entire city becomes Furniture City. You have to walk blocks and blocks to find all the different furniture dealers, not to mention you might have a 7-story building with furniture all across it. The buildings are old. We are on the East Coast, kind of the origin of America over on this side. So because it's old city and old buildings, sometimes these buildings blend together and all of a sudden become one building. And so you'll enter into the 2nd floor on one building, you'll ride the escalator up to the 3rd floor, then you'll take a catwalk and all of a sudden you're on the 4th floor. But then you go back across the catwalk and you're on the 3rd floor. And it's a very confusing layout, at least in High Point. And that's the furniture capital of the world, or of America at least.
What's your favorite High Point, North Carolina restaurant?
Oh man, I took a picture of it. We went and we got some pizza at this place that was just over the top amazing. I've got to give them a shout out because I took a picture of their door because it was so good. Here it is. It is called Blue Rock Pizza and Tap. Shout out to Blue Rock Pizza and Tap. Actually, we went out and ate there as our executive force one night for dinner, and then the next day we called in pizza and had it for dinner for the entire rep force because it was so good we wanted to share it. We're talking chicken and artichoke pizza. We're talking pizza with a mango habanero base and brisket and bacon and jalapenos on it. Yeah,
I
honey.
gotta tell you, John, I'm from the pizza capital of America. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I've never heard of mango being put on pizza. You're telling me this was good?
It wasn't mango the fruit. It was mango habanero sauce, like the glaze that you would have on a wings. Blue Rock Pizza and Tap.
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you.
Okay, so let's get back to basics here. So I think we've explained the fundamentals of the purpose of a furniture market. It's literally for a retailer to meet manufacturer, distributor, to figure out which products to buy, to see a lot of them in person, and a lot of it is just keeping up relationships. Let's get a little bit more literal for our listeners. Now, you represent a manufacturer. How do you guys position yourself at your company? Tell us about that first, and then I'll ask you about some customers, some retailers that you guys serve, just so there's a little bit more of a linear touch point for our users and viewers.
For sure. So Legends Home, we are a furniture manufacturer that's been around since the 90s. Historically, we've done entertainment consoles and fireplaces, and then the guy who bought us out and owns us now, he got his money in the mattress world. And so he was making mattresses, bed-in-a-box mattresses, and selling them 10 years ago.
An early adopter of this new style of
early adopter, correct. Made enough money doing that to be able to buy Legends furniture, blended the mattresses into Legends furniture, and then put upholstery in there also, and now called it Legends Home. So we do most everything except for patio or bathroom vanities or something, but just about everything else in the house. And as far as selling to retailers in general, it works out into price point. You have your promotional and you have your high end, and then you have your middle right in the middle. And usually how we'll describe it is we'll say we're medium plus or medium minus, and that's the industry terminology. With that in mind, Legends Home considers themselves medium plus goods. We oftentimes will be able to be, price point wise, competitive with our promotional industry, but as far as our construction goes, we're medium or medium plus goods.
Great, that's really helpful. And give us a sense of what that translates to on the retail level. Tell us some of the larger retailers that you guys are partnered with.
Sure. Let's talk about, there's broad categories. You can have bedrooms, you can have dining, you can have upholstery and all this kind of stuff. One of the weirdest things in the furniture business is that a sofa has cost about $399 for the past 50 years. It's like the price hasn't really changed. It's really weird. So the $399 is your promotional price point, and we don't have a lot of promotional price points at that range. We're going to get into the $599 to maybe even $899 range depending on some of our looks. But then you look at some of big companies like Restoration Hardware, for instance, they might be getting $4,000 for a sofa. And then you go into super high end and you might be getting $14,000 or $40,000. So there's a huge spread. But in general, we're in the $500 price range for a sofa, $1,000 for a bedroom group or something like that. Majors that we deal with, I can name drop here. We do a lot of business with American Furniture Warehouse. Last I checked, they were number 19 in the top 20. They're nearly, if not, they're $1 billion conglomerate by now. And then you have R.C. Willey. We do a lot of business with them. We've done quite a bit of business with Tiffany and Macy's in the past. We're on an upward trajectory with Slumberland. Rooms to Go is a big account of ours. Living Spaces is a big account of ours. These are some names that our listeners probably recognize all across the country.
I think in that list, everybody probably recognizes at least one based on most furniture chains are regional. There are very few like fully national traditional furniture retailers, brick and mortar with a brick and mortar focus, but you've named a lot of big ones there.
Correct. Yeah, actually I was going through the numbers. We get a report of whenever somebody comes into market, we scan their badge, and that tells us a little about them and basically gives us their email address so that we can retarget them after they leave and try to follow up and find out if all is good. And so I was looking over that report and pulling some data from it, and interesting little tidbit, 33.3% of our visitors this last week at High Point Market are grossing over $20 million a year. And that's major. That's a big number. And then if you break it down and I start going backwards, from the $1 million and up gross range, 83% of our retailers are of those who visited are doing $1 million or more. I think that's cool.
Wow.
I think it shows that we have that High Point, for instance, is really caters to the big guy, the big business and big box as they call it. But it also shows us that we want to be doing more business with our mom and pop retailers, and we hope that's where Couch.com is going to come in eventually. That might be a good opportunity to plug it and give you some time to talk about how we as a manufacturer could reach out to the smaller retailers that were obviously those that came to visit us at market that are doing less than $500,000 was only percent. So how do we get a hold of those people?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, just to give a sense of where Couch.com fits into all of this, and we're building out a national database of furniture retailers, both large and small, online retailers like the big ones like Wayfair and Amazon, and some boutique ones like the one that I used to run. And then all of the brick and mortar focused chains across the country like the ones you previously had mentioned, along with mom and pop stores will have a place in our platform solution. So everybody can have a presence on Couch.com and get the word out about their business or brand to users. Sometimes that's RC Willie, and sometimes that's Wayfair, and sometimes it's the place down the street that's going to give them exceptional service on a custom sofa that they want in a specific way. If a furniture store is in business, they probably do something really well. So we're looking to figure out what that is and help provide a platform for the furniture industry, all the retailers, to market to users, large and small. So tell me about, what is your general role on a day-to-day basis in your job, and how does that change when it's market time? These 4 events per year, these markets in Vegas and High Point are so vital to the sales cycle of the furniture industry. It's like where you have a chance to meet with all the retailers, as you've mentioned. So it's super important. I guarantee you play an important role in it. Am I wrong?
We just got back from High Point Market yesterday, and at market, we already started having conversations about what the October market is going to look at. We have to start looking at what our floor looks like here in April and how that's going to change, and what do we need to get rid of and what do we need to pull in. So you ask what my role is. A lot of that is what's going on behind the scenes. My title is VP Strategic Partner Success. What that really means is that I work here at the factory, and a key priority is to hook up with some of these top tier retailers across the country, finding out strategic areas on their floor that we can grow or maybe swap out. Maybe they have a SKU that is just starting to fall flat a little bit. Let's have some tough conversations about getting rid of that and putting something that's going to do better. So that's a lot of my job. That entails managing our sales rep force all across the country, so I am doing a whole lot of that. It includes a lot of just marketing, so trying to get the product images from our new stuff that's being made and turn that into some good preview material or marketing materials or videos or whatever it is that I can get out. It's looking through the data of these reports that we pulled in and what's selling, and trying to extrapolate relevant, valuable feedback we can get to our retailers using the quarterly data to help them make a decision to buy the right things to start selling more of. There's a lot of hats throughout the week, but when I go to market, I actually got to design the show floor this last market. I was very pleased with designing about 50,000 square foot show space with our rep Laura Gwynn, who's over in North Carolina. So I have the blueprints, I kind of section it all out, I draw out what SKUs I want in certain areas, then work with her to design it, and then I show up a couple days early to market and just get my hands on it and move stuff around and make it look pretty and try to make it look sellable.
50,000 square feet. That is a huge space to manage.
It is.
I think you know what you're doing. You do know what you're doing, right?
I do know what I'm doing. I consider myself a master stager. I absolutely love staging, but I have had to train even my fellow coworkers that I don't consider myself a designer. I don't enjoy laying down rugs and choosing lamps and pictures and all that, and I don't think I'm the very best at it. But as far as thinking about the show floor and the layout and how everything is going to get positioned and what the focal walls are going to be and what I call the sales path, IKEA, we all know the sales path in IKEA. You're forced to go a certain route, and there is a lot of brain power that goes into that strategy. It really is.
Yeah. I have browsed many a showroom in my career working in the furniture space, and from the first time I went to market when I was in my early 20s, I was absolutely amazed at how much goes into just the commerce in this industry, how much thought. And I think if we're all listening to you go walk through some of the planning strategies and your role in that, and managing partnerships with the retailers, setting up the showroom and staging it. There's so much that happens even before these retailers go out and buy the furniture to sell to the customers. There's an entire industry within the industry of manufacturers and distributors, like really just doing all of this work to make sure that the industry works as it should. It's pretty amazing. How would you label this market a successful market? And how do you measure success? Is it just in sales and written business, meaning actual purchase orders that you'll get from retailers, or is it in general level of interest, or just a gut feeling you have?
All of the above. Our CFO would absolutely say it's all about sales. He doesn't really care about relationships. He only cares about the end of the year gross revenue, which is valid. But,
sounds like a CFO.
It sounds like a CFO, exactly. But honestly, you don't write a lot of business at markets, which is interesting. Yes, I think this was a very successful market. We had a lot of keynote players come through and visit us. This is a weird trade show because it technically starts on Saturday. But we are selling stuff to people on Tuesday, and that's not a joke.
Let's talk about Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Right?
You go into Comic-Con the day before it opens. What's going to happen? You're not going to get in, let alone 5 days before it happens. The furniture business is the opposite. These top retailers, the furniture market starts on Saturday, but they show up on Tuesday, and they already start shopping. Like the big guys, like Wayfair, they're gone. They have come and gone by Thursday, and the market hasn't even begun yet. So anyway, it does get a little bit weird because it's spread out so much, it doesn't feel like your foot traffic is that heavy. Back in the day, when it might have just been Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'd have a lot of business. But now it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so your foot traffic gets spread out, and so you get these long lulls. But at the end of the day, we look at our market report, and we're pretty consistent with the number of visitors, if not even a little bit up. Our close rate was really high, had a lot of good feedback. Just beginning relationships is really what we look to get from market, because we're not selling a one-time product. We're not trying to get a widget into their hand that is going to help them for the next 20 years. We're trying to get a placement on the floor that is going to become basically like the real estate industry. Like, I want to grow my real estate on every single retailer's floor until I have more and more share of their show floor.
Yeah, look, it's a very much a relationship-based business, and when I, as a retailer, would make relationships with a manufacturer, like you said, very rare that we would buy one thing. We would probably go do a number of SKUs, and then when those SKUs ran their course, we would replace them with other SKUs from that manufacturer. It is a long-term partnership and relationship, and that's part of the reason why, as we can all tell by your explanation of it, so much work goes into these markets, because it's a major investment. It's a major investment in the company's and the manufacturer's future with a given retailer and at large. That's really interesting to think about it like that.
Yeah, speaking of the investment, the amount of money that we have to spend just for that space alone, less all of the freight money we have to spend to send it there from Phoenix to High Point. We have to hire decorators. We spend literally millions of dollars to make the furniture presentable and available for retailers to sit on. And then there's those who just say, I don't go to markets. It's like, how can you not go to a market? How can you consider yourself a responsible buyer if you don't go look at this product? You don't go sit on it. You don't go touch it and open it and flip it over. But
I will say, in the online space, something that always differentiated us and my former company, Apartment 2B, is that we would go to markets and we would the furniture in person, whereas for years in the online space, full of people just putting up products and grabbing images from wherever without actually even vetting the manufacturers that they were coming from at all. Yeah, and I think that was part of our, because at the end of the day, people were happy with the products they received. Why? Because we as furniture experts were vetting them before we were offering them to our customers. And like in a good restaurant, you want the chef to taste the food first. So I think that's a really important thing for retailers to do. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And to your point, a lot of retailers, especially in the online sector, focus on what's called dropshipping. And you and I probably know it, but our average listener might not. And what dropshipping is, I handle all of the warehousing and logistics of getting the product from my manufacturing plant to the customer. And then the retailer doesn't have to do anything except for try to the customer to buy my product. They're not touching the product. They're not really vested in it. If they make $5 off of it, they make $5. And if they can do that 1,000 times, they made $5,000. But you're right, they're not verifying the product, the company, they're making sure it's good. They're just trying to get the best possible deal in the easiest way.
And ultimately, I don't believe that to be a sustainable strategy. It's why you see Wayfair and Amazon buyers converge on a furniture market like a sea of people. They've invested in going to markets. They're not just selling images of products, they actually have relationships with manufacturers like the one that you're a part of, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Actually, Wayfair came and visited with us at market, and I was looking through the scanned badges report. We had over a dozen different people at 5 or 6 different meetings across different times coming in, sitting down with our guy. That's a whole different level of business once you get into that. You think about just returns in general. How, as a retailer, do you handle returns, and now turn those into online returns, and now turn them into Amazon or Wayfair? It's just, we've been trained as consumers that you can return anything, and it's a lot more difficult to return a sofa or an entertainment center that weighs 400 pounds.
Big time. It costs a lot of money, and it costs everybody a lot of money, except the shipping companies. They make out like bandits.
Oh my goodness, do they ever? Oh, you're right there. You're right.
I think this is a great first entry point into the world of furniture markets for the Couch.com viewers. So I thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise. The last question I'll ask you is about trends. Every time I go to market, there's always, after I visit a number of showrooms, it usually is fairly obvious some of the trends that are emerging. Like when I was in Vegas last, certain fabrics on couches, because I was particularly focused on couches, obviously, chunky corduroys, like this monster fur that was coming out, just very plush fabric. I'm sure you've seen also. And I saw a lot of wicker on indoor.
Yeah, and rattan. Starting to see more of that. And rattan, for sure.
Yeah. What are some other ones? Was there any one thing that really stuck out to you this market as being the hot thing, or what are some things on your mind?
The markets, as I said already, they glinting. But I have a strategy. I've been doing this for a little over 10 years, and I almost always reserve one day at market to go around and look at everything. And if I can, I'll take a lot of pictures. They don't always want you to take pictures. A fun side note, the first time I got called out on taking pictures, I just took more pictures and then got a press pass. So I was able to go to market with a press badge and take as many pictures as I want. I'll do a plug. If you want to see some of these pictures, go to Furniture is Fashion on Instagram. That's at Furniture is Fashion is my Instagram handle. And I like to just take fun pictures of furniture. But what I'll do is I'll take a lot of them, and then I'll go back through my photo log, and I'll start to see some commonalities, especially in the color world. If you're just flipping past them and not even putting a second of notice on each one, but you start to see colors. So anyway, what are the current trends? Curves, obviously. Everybody is doing curves in the upholstered world as well as the case goods world. We're getting away from rectangles and squares, and you're starting to see a lot of more soft corners. Warm tones, it seems like grays are fading out some, and browns and tans and oats and all of that are on the rise. We're starting to see some patterns, almost like tapestry-like patterns, all floral prints, wallpaper-style prints. We're starting to see some bold mixing of patterns.
Plastic on the furniture to go along with the floral patterns, Jonathan? Is that a thing? Because in my grandma's house, she had a floral pattern couch and plastic.
I have not seen any of the plastic covers for sofas in a long time, but not a bad idea unless you're in Phoenix, Arizona, in which case...
Oh my God. The worst.
The absolute worst. It's fun to look at the trends. It's all sort of prediction at this time, or you're always on the back end. You're the surfer. We have your picture on the internet of you couch surfing as it is. It's very much like surfing. If you're too early, you're not going to get it. If you're too late, everybody's run away from you. You have to really be right on that wave, right in the tunnel. And that's a hard place to get to. It really is, whether you're surfing or predicting furniture.
I think if we learned one thing today, again, as I said before, it's how much work and thought goes into the process of being a manufacturer, thinking about furniture markets. It's a major driver of the furniture industry, and you have your finger on the pulse of it. So thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and expertise with us today, Jonathan. Hope to have you again soon.
My pleasure, man. Anytime, Alex. It's always fun chatting furniture.